because there is no clear historical evidence. He said, I shall set up a hotel where foreigners will come to stay rather than my trying to get into this hotel. That's how the Taj came out. But that's not the innovation. The innovation is that is the oldest Indian joint stock company which is still with the original promoters and listed in the Bombay Stock Exchange. There is no older company. There is an older company called the East India Company, which is bought for 1 rupee as a prize souvenir. But if you look at the oldest companies in the stock exchange, still with the original promoters. Now to maintain your amanat for 100 years and still be with the original promoters, you must have, it's like that Uzbekistani fellow who's living for 140 years. There must be something unique. Well, there are many others there, and I shan't go into all of them in the interest of time. But if something catches your fancy, I'll be quite happy to talk about it during the question-hour session. You know, we take many of these for granted now, but I want to touch upon 1982, Tata Tea and Tata Salt. You'll say, well, what's so innovative about Tata Salt? I mean, namak hai, packet mein dal diya, bech diya, it's not a big deal. Many people would consider it not to be an innovation. Think back. What is happening in 1982? Salt used to be imported in the old days from Aden. That's when Gandhiji led the, I'm going back that long, the Dandi March was to protest against foreign salt coming in, and Indian salt which was being farmed in Bombay and the coastal areas of Gujarat were being taxed. There was no indigenous packet salt available anywhere. Salt coming, it was called Kharkat salt, and it was sold in crystals. You bought it in a paper bag and took it home. That's how all of us grew up. We never thought of salt in a packet. In 1982, the following happened. Mitapur, which is a town on your coast here of Saurashtra, had no water. How do you run a factory without water? So, brilliant chemical engineer came up with the idea, you got plenty of sea water. If you pump the sea water and evaporated it, you'll get water. Sounds clever. You can get water from the sea. But what do you do with the stuff that's left? You're left with all the other stuff. That's why even today, the plant in Mitapur is called MUW, make up water. In other words, you're not interested in the rest of it. You want to take the water and throw the rest of it out. And you're left with all this salt. So what do you do with the salt? You get bori mein bhar do. Called all the distributors of soda ash and said, yeah, namak hai, le jana hai to le jao. It's a byproduct disposal. You wanted to get rid of the kachra. Of all the distributors, one of them said, I think I'll take this. You can outsource everything to me. Remember, the word outsourcing was not known. Under MRTP, it was not allowed to outsource in those days. And FERA, and we had lots of other regulations. He said, I'll lift all the salt from your factory. I will take it all over the country. I will set up packing units. I will put it into packets using local labor. I'll create jobs for them. Just allow me to use the Tata name. Because if I write Patel salt, it won't sell. If you write Tata salt, it will sell. So we said, okay. Benetton did this in the field of apparel. And that's a Harvard Business School case study. And some of you might be taught that case study even in your institute. They would buy fabric. They would give it out. After making the patterns, they would give it out. It will be cut. It will be assembled, sewn together, given to each other, and full garments with the Benetton label would come back. And Benetton made lots of money, became a global company, and became a Harvard Business School case study. But Tata Salt is not a Harvard Business School case study. It is not even an IIM Ahmedabad case study. It is not even a Tata case study. Even we didn't think of it as an innovation. But everything was outsourced. There's not a single salesman, not a single invoice. Everything went. He came back and said, Lalaji, ye paisa baki hai. That's how. And today, it is India's most respected food brand. It always comes up on top of the charts in all the brand equity and all these studies. It is for that reason that I've included it. I don't want to go into all the others, since I should leave some time for questions and disagreements. I've mentioned Tata Tea's acquisition of Tetley because it was the beginning of a phase when in Tata companies learned to buy companies which were 4 times their size. It is not easy to buy a company which is 4 times your balance sheet size. Whether leverage buyouts were unique in the world? No. But in our context it was unique. Just like the introduction of credit cards into India. When we were all young officers, we didn't know what's a credit card. When the credit cards were introduced, we didn't want to carry one because somehow it looked khota. Carrying good, clean notes was the right way to pay your bills. It took a lot of time for people of our generation to get used to even credit cards. Our kids, of course, take it for granted. This is the equivalent of a corporate credit card. That you could go and put down your credit card, sign a check and buy a company 4 times your size. Remember, in those days there was no bank finance, none of the scams that you have today, neither did you get the subprimes. You worked hard and got every rupee and you spent that rupee to buy what you bought. And Tata Tea was the first one to be able to structure a deal where the cash flows of the purchased entity financed its own purchase. It's a huge innovation. Since then, of course, many other deals have happened and it's probably no more fair to consider it an innovation. So that's the reason why I've included it there. I won't go into all of these. The purpose of putting these was to demonstrate to you that we tend to take many things around us for granted and don't regard them as innovations. And we have trained our mind through the media and the way we are trained to talk and look at things and looking at certain metrics. If you find a company with a lot of R&D expenditure, you say they must be very innovative. If they have a lot of patents, you say they must be very innovative. If there are business model innovations, somehow you have not thought of it as innovation. If it's in the societal application, you certainly didn't think of it in the context of innovation as far as the company is concerned. And I was trying to break that mold in your mind to say innovation is something which is like spirituality. It is something basic to yourself. And that's what I want to illustrate with this chart. If you take the biological metaphor, nature exemplifies actions which are natural and not programmed. In physics, everything is programmed. In biology, nothing is programmed. At least you don't know the algorithm of the program, at the very least. Now you may wonder, what are all these pictures? The one on the left is supposed to be flying birds. The one in the middle are supposed to be swimming fish. And the third one are supposed to be flowers in bloom. Have you ever seen a bird that is trying to fly? Birds just fly. Have you ever seen fish that are trying to swim? They swim. Have you ever seen flowers that are trying to bloom? They bloom. Have you ever seen companies that are trying to innovate? Plenty. Have you ever seen managers who are working very hard with funnel gate and all this stuff to try to innovate? Plenty. All over. Why is it that management has to be programmed? Why can't it be natural? What is the real job of a manager? If it is to add value, and you know that you don't need a lecture in IIM Ahmedabad to know that innovation is the key to adding value. Why can't we innovate and be natural? Is it possible? So I have tried to capture in this, all management knowledge has to be converted into 2x2 matrix, otherwise it doesn't count. So I don't want to be left